Hello, my name is Amarion McClinton, and today for my primate presentation, we will be talking about the white-faced capuchin. What exactly is the creature on the right? It's a white-faced capuchin, and the scientific name for it is Acebius capuchinus. The class it belongs to is mammal. The order that it belongs to is primate. This monkey's family is Cebidae, and its genus is Cebius, and it's also a New World monkey. You might be wondering what exactly is a New World monkey. Well, a New World monkey is a species of monkeys that reside in the Central America region. More specifically, in the Neotropical region is where these guys stay. And they can be found in these following countries like Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, Ecuador. And these monkeys typically live in several types of forests. These forests are wet tropical forests, dry forests, and primary and secondary forests. And white-faced capuchins are easy to recognize, well, to me at least, is because they have a black body. They're tiny little guys, like about 9 pounds at most. And the lowest they'll go to is 4 pounds, depending whether or not that's a female or male. A female obviously is weighing less than a male. Females are weighing about 4.4 to 6.6. Males, on the other hand, are 6.6 to 8.8 pounds. But anyways, they have a black body with white pink fur around the face. And their size, they're also tiny in size as well, height-wise. They're about 12 to 18 inches for the men, and then the women are about 12 to 15 inches in height. But what shocks me the most is that their tails are, in some cases, like taller than them, which it does make sense because they're able to move around and they're more flexible, like so, with the tails that long. What do white-faced capuchins eat exactly? Well, these guys are omnivores, meaning that they both eat plants and animals. But fruits make up a large portion of their diet, more specifically 80%, and that other 20% is animals, but smaller ones though. These guys aren't big, so they're not going to get the bigger echelon of animals. And then their diet does change depending on the environment and season. Like all animals, they are going to stock up on a whole bunch of like nuts and stuff like that to last themselves throughout a colder environment. And primarily when these guys are infants, their mother breastfeeds them. And then when they get to about infant age, and when they still can't, obviously forage themselves, the mother's foraging with them, but they're going with the mother and watching them and developing these foraging skills for in the future when they get bigger. Because this species is a really great one in terms of foraging for food, because without it, I don't know where it would be, man. How do they socialize? How are their behaviors in those environments, and how intelligent are these guys? Well, for starters, they're in about a group of 18 to 20 socially, while the females typically stay in the group that they were born in, and the males typically lead to go venture off to go find a new group. And to build trust among one another, they'll typically groom each other to build a stronger bond and connection with one another. And communication, despite being smaller guys and having smaller brains, they're really intelligent because they communicate through vocalization, facial expressions, physical contact, and other signals. And then they can also alarm each other when predators and unfamiliar capuchins are nearby. And typically for their development, typically for the adolescents, they'll typically watch the adults socialize and do all of this stuff. And then they'll go on to develop these skills. And they know how to cooperate with each other very well with handling situations about predators, infants, foods, and other conflicts with other groups. I feel like white-faced capuchins have an interesting dynamic when it comes to reproducing. I say this because they have multiple partners, and typically the dominant males have a greater mating opportunities We see this with a lot of other species, by the way. But females give birth to normally one infant at a time, so about 2 years. And the average time that they're typically pregnant is 160 days. Mothers are typically the only one providing care, feeding them, and protecting the infants. They also have a long period of development, like about 7 years, which, it gives the monkeys time to learn, like, survival and social skills. And their lifespan is, like, long, actually, if you didn't know. Their lifespan's about up to 55 years if they're in captivity being taken care of. And then the threats that they face is deforestation and hunting. Deforestation is happening everywhere, as obviously more and more humans are, using resources, which we learned obviously earlier. And then they disperse seeds for the ecosystem, so these guys are, like, really important. In conclusion, white-faced capuchins are very intelligent and social and adaptive primates. You'll see this with their tails, their climbing abilities, the fact that they're able to survive in so many different places, while their diet is really flexible. It lets them take advantage of the food sources surrounding them. And they're also really great at socializing because they learn from one another, and they're interesting for researchers. And they can help us understand social behaviors, cooperation, and communication much more, and the fact of how it evolved so much. My sources for this presentation came from animaldiversity.org and sciencedirect.com. They will be linked below in the description. You have a good rest of your day. Bye.